Have you ever stopped to think about that line, between a legend and just the plain reality? Especially with figures like, say, Wild West outlaws, and how sometimes these really small private moments can, well, suddenly trigger huge historical shifts. Today, in the deep dive, we're going to unravel the real story, and it's often quite surprising, behind how one of the most infamous fans of the Wild West, Jesse James, met his end. We're looking at it through the lens of Betrayal, drawing heavily from sources like The Ballad of Jesse James and Robert Ford. Our mission really is to pinpoint the exact events leading to his, well, unexpected death and see how it affected everyone caught up in it. Now, you know the name, Jesse James. Spent years dodging the law, robbing trains, banks, stagecoaches.
He was quite the figure.
Absolutely. To some, just a ruthless criminal. To others, almost a Robin Hood type. By 1882, you'd probably picture him living large, maybe hidden away somewhere.
Right, like in some secret hideout.
But the sources, they show something else entirely. Jesse James was tired. Law enforcement was seriously closing in. He had settled down in St. Joseph, Missouri, using the name Thomas Howard. Trying, really trying for a quiet life with his wife and kids.
And that's what's so fascinating, isn't it? How does a legend like James, someone who evaded capture for so long, finally get caught? And the really key insight here is that it wasn't some big gunfight, no blaze of glory, it was betrayal.
A deeply personal act. It really brings up big questions about loyalty, fame, and the price you pay for chasing them.
Okay, let's dig into that. The sources bring Robert
Exactly. And that ambition, that craving, led him down a very specific path. The sources were quite clear on this. Robert Ford went and secretly negotiated with the Missouri governor, Thomas Crittenden.
Crittenden, right? He made it his personal mission to get Jesse James.
Absolutely. And the bait, a huge reward, $10,000.
Wow. That was serious money back then.
Oh, it was a fortune. More than enough temptation for Robert to, well, make a deal. To seal his friend's fate. So this wasn't just a spur-of-the-moment thing.
It was planned, calculated.
A calculated exchange, yeah. But hang on, Jesse James was famously paranoid, always vigilant. How did Ford even get close enough?
Yes, the chilling.
The Ford brothers are there, staying with him. They all have breakfast together. It's apparently an unusually hot morning for spring. And Jesse, cautious as always, still has his pistols on him, at his sides. But for whatever reason, he doesn't suspect the guys across the table.
And that's the key, isn't it? How did Ford bypass that vigilance? It wasn't about overpowering him. It was about exploiting trust, maybe a moment of comfort. The sources say that after breakfast, Jesse noticed a picture on the wall. It was dusty.
Just a dusty picture frame.
Yeah, a simple household chore. And that proved fatal. He wanted to clean it, so he actually took off his gun belt, put the pistols on a bed nearby, and then he turned his back to Robert Ford to reach up for the picture.
Turning his back, that was it.
That was the moment, the precise moment Robert had been waiting for. It's just a stark, chilling detail, isn't it? That vulnerability in a domestic setting.
And right then, that single moment, the legend's fate was sealed. Jesse's stretching up for the frame, and Robert Ford pulls out his pistol. A .44 Smith & Wesson, the sources say. Takes aim.
No hesitation.
None. Pulls the trigger. The bullet hits Jesse right in the back of the head. Just behind the ear, he just collapses. Dead instantly. Didn't even know what hit him.
And the immediate aftermath. The sources describe Charlie and Robert just standing there. Stunned silence, probably. Then the reality hits them. They've just killed Jesse James, the most feared outlaw in the West.
Can you imagine that moment?
Robert Ford's heart must have been pounding like mad, a mix of terror maybe, and this weird thrill. He knew right then he was part of history, for good or bad. That one shot basically changed the whole narrative of the American West right there.
The news just exploded and it spread like wildfire. Crowds started gathering outside the house.
Instantly.
And the Ford brothers, they turned themselves in right away, probably expecting that big reward. But here's a twist. Instead of getting pats on the back, they were charged with murder.
Right, which seems counterintuitive given the governor's involvement.
It does, though They were pardoned very quickly by Governor Crittenden afterwards.
Oh.
So what did all this mean for Robert Ford? Did he get the fame and fortune he was after?
Well, this is where public perception really comes into play, and it's fascinating. Ford's dream? It completely backfired. Instead of being celebrated as a hero for taking down James, he was almost universally seen as a coward.
A coward. Not what he planned.
Not at all. That famous line from the ballad sums it up. The dirty little coward who shot Mr. Howard. Remember, James was living as Thomas Howard.
Right, Mr. Howard.
So his betrayal brought him scorn, not glory. His life after that, it was nothing like the fame he'd imagined. It's a pretty powerful example of how public opinion really crafts a legacy, sometimes more than official actions do.
And Jesse James's death, it really did signal the end of an era, the end of that notorious outlaw reign. He was buried on his family's farm. And the gravestone, it has this inscription: murdered by a traitor and coward whose name is not worthy to appear here.
Wow. Talk about a final
It
statement.
doesn't mince words, does it?
No, it certainly doesn't. And for Robert Ford, that notoriety he gained, it became a curse, really. He just wandered town to town, tried to cash in on his infamy, maybe reenacting the shooting in shows, things like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but mostly he just found people hating him. Resentment, ridicule, and, history sometimes has a sense of irony, or perhaps justice. 10 years later, 1892, Ford met his own violent end. Shot in the back. In a saloon in Colorado by a man named Edward O'Kelly.
Shot in the back, just like Jesse James.
Just like Jesse James. So the story makes it incredibly clear. James didn't go out in some heroic gun battle. It was a simple, cold act of betrayal. But the legend lived on, stronger than ever maybe, even while the man himself was gone.
So as we've seen in this deep dive, looking at sources like the ballad, there's this huge gap between the legend of Jesse James and the frankly chilling reality of his end. The elusive outlaw wasn't taken down by a posse in a shootout. It was someone he trusted, over a dusty picture frame.
Such a mundane detail.
And Robert Ford, who wanted fame so badly, he got infamy instead, and ultimately a very similar fate.
Yeah, it really highlights how motives, opportunities, even tiny ones seemingly can just completely change history, change lives. It shows that, courage isn't always about facing down your enemy head on and being notorious, and it's definitely not the same as being heroic. It really makes you ask, in any story of betrayal, who really pays the ultimate price? And how does history decide who to condemn and who maybe
To mythologize.
It leaves you thinking, doesn't it? How just one moment of trust, just turning your back for a second, can totally rewrite a legend's ending and forever define the person who exploited